Well, welcome on into another episode of Brownie Breakdowns. Spencer German, Anthony Moeglin alongside, and we're looking forward to it because we enjoy doing this every single week. But that was there were some ugly moments, obviously, from the Rams game on Sunday that we'll certainly point to that sort of were the difference in the game. I think what's maybe one of the most we'll get to Joe Flacco. We got plenty of time, Anthony, to get to Joe Flacco throughout this episode. And I think obviously the conversation revolving around that is he worthy of the starting job moving forward? Should they go back to DTR? So that'll be a conversation we can have. But I think that the most interesting part about this game for me was the fact that really until the fourth quarter, it was neck and neck. Like this was kind of a toss-up coin flip of a game until that interception that Joe Flacco threw, the one blunder on his day that really proved costly. And we're maybe talking about a different result if things maybe fall a little bit differently. Obviously, we can get into more about the defense and their struggles as well. But it's crazy how a 6-minute window at the end of the game is really where the game was basically decided.
It was amazing. That interception happened. It was 20-19 when that happened. And, we've talked about it, and, it's Tuesday now. So we've all seen all the kind of the fallout behind the defense, especially. But while they were giving up yards in the first three quarters, they were buckling down. They gave up that one big play to Puka Nacua, and I'm glad we don't have to see him ever again, because not ever again, but at least for a long time, because he's really, really good at football, and they use him so well. But
the Rams, the Rams just find these random receivers that I shouldn't say random, because Cooper Kupp was pretty highly touted coming out of college already, but they just find these receivers that they can just build their whole offensive passing game around, and they're just good.
It's crazy. It's what I took away from the game is that Sean McVay is very, very good at coaching.
Yeah.
And when he and Stafford are on the same page, they're really, really hard to stop. I thought Stafford was awesome on Sunday. It made it really tough on the defense. And, that when that happens, you get a coach who is calling it. He's kind of in the zone. He really was. And he was calling a great game. And his quarterback and him were seeing the field exactly the same. And, the results of that is what we saw. It was a grindy win that they ended up pulling away at the end.
Well, as you get yourself set up here to start breaking down the tape, I'll let you kind of handle that. I do want to talk about Stafford briefly, because this was one of the challenges for me in sort of prognosticating about this game and trying to figure out what I thought was going to happen. Was I didn't know what Matt Stafford you were going to get, because there's still a good elite NFL quarterback in there, but this year it just hasn't been there. And there was a stat I saw leading up to the game last week about how he had a bad pass rate of 18.8 or something, which was the worst of his career. And it was coming with only 18.4% of the time he was getting pressured, which was a career low for him. So he was just flat out struggling. But for some reason, man, this was the week where he was just lost. I shouldn't say just this week, because he was really good the week before, obviously, against the Cardinals. Granted, it's the Cardinals, so you kind of take it with a grain of salt. But 2 weeks in a row, he's kind of gotten back in a rhythm. And I think that was obviously on full display, which we'll see as we kind of go through the tape here and discuss his play, as well as Flacco on the other side and the Browns defense as a whole.
Yeah, it was funny, Stafford versus Flacco. It felt like we were back in 2010, where it was a Ravens versus Lions game, and it truly did. And I was at the game. I was lucky enough to go, and it was fun to watch. I thought even Flacco, and we'll get into it, I thought Flacco played really well. To be honest with you, had that one mistake at the end, but for a guy who 3 weeks ago was sitting on his couch watching games on the NFL, or watching games on Red Zone, to coming out and slinging that thing, I thought he looked pretty good. And one of the things that you'll see here as we get into this is there's two things. When the Browns are on offense, we'll talk a lot about how Joe, and it's funny because it's ironic at the end, but how he was very good at just protecting the football and making quick snap decisions, because he does it. And he's never been an athlete or never been great, moving. But when something was open, or he had a blitz, or everything was covered, he was doing a really great job of throwing the ball away and just protecting the football. And when the Rams are on offense and the Browns are on defense, we're going to see a lot of examples of Sean McVay using formation and motion to dictate to Matt Stafford, hey, this is where you need to go with the football. And the result of that is that Stafford was getting the ball out of his hands super quick, really, really quickly, and just totally neutralized our defensive line. Myles Garrett, first game in his career with no sacks. And it was two things. It was Sean McVay, as I've said it a couple times, had a great game plan, and Matt Stafford was seeing the field very, very well and making quick decisions. But to get it started, this first drive was like the best thing that we Browns fans have seen.
By the way, I'm not salty, but I also am salty. I missed like the first several plays. We messaged in. I know we messaged about this in our chat we have. For whatever reason, CBS had was it Fox? Do I have it? Yeah, it was Fox. My bad. Fox had the 49ers Eagles game on, and I missed like the first several plays of this drive. And I was like, are you kidding me? We got blacked out of our own game today? This doesn't make any sense. I was like livid beside myself. And then I sort of flipped Hulu on and off again, and I came back and it was on.
It was on. Yeah, I did see that. I saw it a bunch on Twitter and all of our group chat, a bunch of group chats. Everyone was freaking out. I was telling everybody, guys, I got it. I got it. They don't got the Eagles game on here. Like, I got it fine.
On one hand, I wanted to watch that game. I wish I could have had more time to watch the Eagles 49ers game. But at the same time, I was like, this is the game I have we Like, what are we doing here? So I'm glad it got resolved.
What are we doing? So, all right, a lot of people missed it. So let's take us through it. First play of the game, right? We get a touchback to kind of start things. And just as we would expect, we were expecting kind of a run first game. Well, Browns come out and they throw it on first down. And it's just a perfect, easy completion for Flacco here. Use a little bit of motion to just kind of dictate, all right, defense, we're playing a little bit of zone. And all he's doing is reading the flat defender. This flat defender is number 0. Once he flies into the flat to cover Njoku, you got Cooper coming right behind his head, tucking right behind him on a little hook route, and a nice 6-yard completion just to kind of like, hey, get Flacco's feet underneath of him. It's almost like other quarterbacks needing to take a hit. Give Flacco an easy 3-step drop back, one read, deliver the football, and get a completion to get things started. And then not very next play, we get a first down. So 1st and 10 here, and Aaron Donald kind of rears his ugly head. Not ugly head, but for us it was. He's right here. And honestly, this is kind of another portion of the game. The question around, the debate and the topic these first couple of days after this game were, why didn't we run the ball well? Well, the interior of the Rams was spectacular. Truth be told, they really got after our interior, which I've talked about at length and I've written about it.
Let me say real quick, because it's funny you bring that up, because on the pregame show for 92 Through the Fan, I mentioned that they do all these different sponsored segments that you got to like highlight different players. Yeah. And I said that I felt like I felt less worried about Aaron Donald, not because I don't think Aaron Donald doesn't have it anymore or anything like that. I just said I thought in a game where you're not going up against like a TJ Watt, like an edge guy, and we've kind of had questions about the exterior of the offensive line all season. The interior has been sort of the bread and butter, the rocks of that group. And so I kind of said, I feel better today about them neutralizing or at least limiting to some capacity Aaron Donald and their best defensive player. And the complete opposite happened. He feasted. He had some really good plays in this game. Obviously, late in the game, he was the guy who got the safety on the late in the game as well. So just he feasted, and I was wrong for even suggesting that I thought our guys would have a better, or the Browns guys would have a better chance. But
I agree with you, right? Like it was best on best, and I'm like, all right, our guys in the interior, Posick, Teller, and Batonio are playing elite football right now. And I go, hey, this is going to be advantage Browns. Well, Aaron Donald says not so fast, and there he is on that hash mark. On first down, he gets a -5-yard gain or a -5-yard tackle for loss, and it was just a simple. It was a power play to the left side. So Posick, you can see him here. He's our center. He was blocking back with Teller pulling around into the hole, and you can see Aaron Donald's got that elite get off, and it was just not quick enough. And hey, now you're behind the sticks, exactly where you don't want to be. With a guy, starting his first game in a full calendar year here. But here's the advantage of Flacco. He's so smart, and he's seen every defense a million times that his decisions are so quick. And now, whether it's the right decision or wrong decision, the ball was protected for the most part. And this is a great example of it. What you're going to get here is we're going to get a Mike blitz right through this A gap right here. And so he's hot here. You can tell that with the protection and with the running back will leave and go to the flat right away. Flacco knows that this guy is his responsibility. So if he blitzes, and he gets a sack, it's on Flacco. So that your quarterback's then taught to throw hot. Okay, so you'll see it here. We'll see it here play out. Here comes the blitz. Joe knows, hey, this is my guy. And his immediate trigger and his immediate release is throw the fade to Cedric Tillman. Now, the ball is close to being caught, but it's an incomplete pass. I think it's the right decision. Okay, what you'll see from this view is that Njoku would have had a nice little gainer right here. However, with the route that was up, the pressure's on him. That ball needs to be perfect to be placed on Njoku's head. He could have thrown this, but it was almost like, hey, he saw the blitz. Yeah. His immediate hot was throw the fade, and he went and he did it.
I also think as if you go back a little bit, when he sees the blitz coming, Njoku is still kind of tied up with his defender. Yep. And so I think like he was, like you said, he's thinking hot, and he's like, I just got to get this ball to somebody who I know has a good chance of catching it. And the fade, I think, was probably just the natural thought process for him, which
exactly.
Is fine. But yeah,
exactly to your point. He's looking. You can see his helmet. I mean, he's looking right at him. Oh, here comes the blitz. Oh, he turns, and yes, Njoku pops open, but this ball is safe because
he already had made up his mind at that point. Like you can tell, he's like ready to. There's Njoku coming free, and the ball's already in the air. So
yep, and then you see this. This ball is either a completion to Tillman, it's a pass interference, or it's an incomplete pass. Okay, it's not an interception, and it's not a sack.
And that's veteran. That's like a veteran savviness that a guy like DTR doesn't have. He knows if I put this ball in a certain spot, like okay, it might be incomplete, but we live to fight another day.
And how many times, Spence, have we seen a picture like this where whether it's DTR, or PJ, or Deshaun, where they're like, hey, everyone, they see this blitz and like, I'm going to try to break this with my feet, and they take a 9-yard sack or a 7-yard sack. And then it's like, okay, now you're totally out of it. Well, why this is so important is now it's 3rd and 14. And instead of it being 3rd and 20, 3rd and 19, 3rd and 23, whatever it is, now you're still alive. And this throw was, look at this. He throws this, Flacco's throwing the football. You get John Johnson kind of floating into the box. And this is a post route here by Amari. That's a bad drawing, but he's going to come on this post. I mean, he's already thrown the football. That football's out. And this is the most perfect throw. Watch it from the back.
Incredible.
It was
so good.
And here's Johnson. Johnson falls into the box here. And once he does that, he throws. I mean, like he doesn't even break stride. It was so. This is so perfect.
This was a tweet the eyeball emoji throw. Like, whoa. Like this guy off the couch from 2 weeks ago, and he's throwing that pass. Are you kidding me?
And he's got that, and it's like 3rd and 14. We haven't converted a 3rd and 14, and I don't know, since I was 10. And like he comes in and he does that on his first drive, his first third down of his game. So it was so that was when you're like, uh-oh. And then here's the very next play, Spence. This is awesome. This is like the veteran stuff that we just haven't seen. So we get these, we've seen it a bunch. You and I have. We break this down every week. The Browns love running these curl routes, okay?
Yeah.
So you're going to get deep curl here, and then you're going to get Elijah on like a little bit of a go ball. You'll get Njoku into the flat there, and then you'll get a check down here by Jerome Ford. Well, we're dropping back, and this Mike linebacker is just getting depth, right? He's just getting depth. So Flacco doesn't even think twice. Like these guys they're still in their routes. And he already just checks it down, right? What happens when you give a running back a ball in space? Anybody with the ball in space, they're going to make a guy miss. We threw the ball 3 yards and got 15 yards out of it because he didn't waste any time, got to the check down, delivered a catchable ball, and now we're rolling.
I got the sense that, when Deshaun's been out there this year, when he was healthy and playing, and I've talked about this ad nauseum on the radio and stories we've done, whatever. I think that he just has this mentality where he's just trying to like redeem himself, like the off the field stuff, the on the field, like he's trying to get it all back on like one play. And I got the sense with Flacco, he was like, he doesn't have all that stuff hanging over him. So it's like different, but it just felt so, I hadn't seen an offense run this way all season where it was just like, let's just take what's there. And I think sometimes Deshaun was thinking through things too much, and he was like, "Well, I could take that throw, but I want to make this throw because I want to prove like I still have it." And for Flacco, it was like he said it after the game. Like I think he said it, I don't know the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, "Yeah, anytime you're out there and you're trying to prove to people and others out there that you can still play." He was like, but that's not even where my mind's at because I know I can still play. And he proved that on the first drive. Like he was just locked in like it was any other Sunday, throwing it back to 2015, whatever. Like he was locked in and he was playing really good football.
It was awesome to watch. You make a great point. Like felt like Deshaun is always trying to hit the home run, hit the home run. Where here you got Flacco, he's hitting singles, he's hitting bloopers. He may fly out a couple times here and there.
And it's funny because with Deshaun, sorry, I keep cutting you off. I apologize.
We're good.
With Deshaun too, like the games where he did kind of just take what was there, like in the Ravens game, it worked. Like it worked. Like this can work. It's just you got to kind of get out of your own head there. And so we'll see if that's something that plagues him again next season. But for now, like as we're breaking out Flacco's tape, like it was just great to see the offense run that way. And
we should have prefaced this at the top. You and I haven't discussed the game yet. This is our first time discussing the game. So we will have these sidebar conversations throughout the way. So it's great. But then you come back and get Kareem going. Okay. This is when you felt like, all right, if they're going to be able to run the football, this may be the way they have to do it. Get some of those zone schemes going where we can get action going one direction and have a nice little cutback. Boom. You get Kareem with a nice chunk gain there. And that sets up what was schemed perfectly. This was an awesome scheme here. So you use a little motion. This tells Flacco he knows exactly what he's getting. And they're going to go deep crosser here. You're going to get your typical Browns play action pass here. All right. You use motion to bring it back. Here we go. Get guys into the flat. A guy's coming over, and everybody forgets about Jerome Ford. I mean, this was schemed to perfection. This was so
brilliant
awesome.
Play.
It was a really good play, executed perfectly, and run perfectly. Run at the perfect time too. I mean, if you could draw up a better first drive, I'd like to see it. Other than that tackle for loss for Aaron Donald, everything was pretty spot on, and it was a great way to open the game.
I meant to look this up, and I forgot, so this is on me. I want to say that was the first opening drive touchdown of the season. I think I'm right on that. Maybe the Titans game. No, because they only scored 3 in that game in the first quarter. So no.
Yep. Look that up.
I will work through that here right now because it's a pretty easy thing to figure out. So I'll double check what I think it might be, which is interesting because last year one of the biggest praises you could give to Kevin Stefanski was that he was a genius when it came to like the scripted stuff. Like first couple drives of the game, he was always getting points. He was always getting it down there into the red. And this year that hasn't been the case. I think largely because just the quarterback play. But I think this was the first time all season that they scored an opening drive touchdown.
And it was awesome. So flipping the thing over, like I said, the Rams had a couple chunk plays, and we'll get to those. But one of the things that really caught my attention was just the feel that Sean McVay had on our defense. And you'll see it, and this was going to come up. If you watch in the left corner, I kind of label the plays. You're going to see Rams use motion maybe 20 times. Because they just use motion consistently throughout the game to kind of get in advantageous situations. And this is such a sneaky little play by them because what have the Browns done all year? They play so much man coverage, okay? So they got guys chasing around. You'll see Greg Newsome all afternoon running like it's a track meet. But get a play like this. They're going to use motion here to show that it's man coverage. And then they're going to run a sweep play where they're going to get their tackle to pull out, then they're going to block down, and they're going to block down. Well, when you're in man coverage, Spence, our corner is got to follow him wherever, right? Because if he fake blocks and then releases into into a route, like that's his guy. So just watch here. We'll play it. Watch this just enough, right, for Emerson to get out of position because he had to follow his guy, right? His guy's going one step, but he has to follow him, and that gets him out of position enough for that tackle to fly around the edge and kind of seal it off where Kyron Williams breaks a tackle. They don't get 10 yards here, but they get 7. And then you get a late hit on Juan Thornhill coming down because, coming in pursuit. Like you're going to see this a bunch where they just were sneaky enough to use motion and they used alignment and assignment to kind of block guys, especially when they're in man-to-man coverage. Like on this play, you use motion to block 2 guys. Your motion blocks Grant Delpit. He gets going back this way. And then your man coverage blocks Martin Emerson. So now you have 10 for 9 pretty much. So it was schemed so well by them.
By the way, I have an update on what I was looking up.
Yep.
There was one other time they scored in the opening drive of the game, and I should have remembered this. The Indy game, they scored in the opening drive, but the reason I don't think it stands out as like a classic Stefanski scripted drive down the field is because it was on one play. First play of the game, 69-yard run by Jerome Ford. That's why. So to my point, like this was the first time you saw like a methodical march down the field and score on the opening drive of the game. So that was impressive. But yeah, I'll kick it back to you. I know we're on defense right now. So.
No, it was. You're right. You're exactly right. And then watch here. We're going to use motion. They use motion to get across. And look, like you got one safety in the post, and then 10 other guys within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage. The plus side here is that the Browns get home. They run a nice little stunt inside. I thought JOK played well again. He's going to have a couple missed tackles, but he flies around with his hair on fire and plays really hard. And so they bring some pressure. He rushes through the block, and thankfully he does that. Mike Ford Jr., you'll see him out here. He had a little bit of a tough day, just in coverage all day long. But a really nice play here by the Browns, getting some pressure and forcing. This was third down, so now you're forcing a field goal attempt.
Yeah, I thought the motion was a problem pretty much all day. You bring up the man-to-man thing. We've talked about that a bunch of times this season already. Just sort of some of the limitations or the cons of playing man-to-man as much as the Browns do. And I think the Rams found a way to exploit that with the motion that they used and, got guys kind of out ahead of the defenders that were guarding them or got them sort of trapped down in the middle when they were trying to get on the outside, like you saw in that previous play. So, yeah, that was a problem, I think, throughout, which that just goes to the mind of Sean McVay, man. He knows what he's doing with these offensive play calls.
And look here. So now, again, okay, so this picture looks different. Right. When we were in man coverage, right, we had one safety in the post and everybody else by the line of scrimmage. We're getting a clear zone look here. So what does that mean? Right. We're going to use motion. It tells Stafford, hey, I'm getting zone. The problem is the secondary, and this is something this is something that's kind of concerning to me. They don't communicate this across the field, right? You can kind of see guys getting into position. Newsome comes late on a blitz. You don't know what the actual coverage is. It looks to me like Thornhill's driving down and you're going to get some kind of a cover 3 look.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Cause it looks like you see Mike Ford on the far side. He starts to kind of just break towards being a deep third before the ball is even snapped, which to your point, you said like he was kind of giving away what the coverage was.
Yep. And this kind of reminds you of, and not like Thornhill's not out of position here. This is just a good play to attack this defense. But this reminds you of that Seattle clip we looked at about 2 months ago where he was late to the flat and it led to a big third down conversion. Well, this one leads to a huge chunk play just because the Browns get out of position because their flat defender is rolling down from the post and they just can't get there in time, and they get a nice play out of it. And then that play leads right to the Puka touchdown, okay? So we'll watch it from the back view. This was when I was – For perspective, I was sitting where the back camera's at pretty much. So I was looking down. I was looking right into Matt Stafford's eyes right here. And this one was like, oh boy, Stafford's feeling himself today. And we'll see why. I'll show you. He's got a little swag to him. But just a really perfectly timed play where you're going to get a blitz here. And oftentimes the Browns will do this, right? This is kind of it's a simulated pressure where you're still they bring 5 here with Delpit. But it looks like you're bringing 6 because your defensive tackle drops into coverage. And this is a common thing. Defenses will do this.
Yeah.
Kind of the defensive lineman will take away anything underneath. However, this is a Tampa 2 look, and it's an inverted 2. So your safeties are on the way outside, and then Taki is responsible for this deep third. Well, Stafford knows this. He keeps his eyes over here to freeze Martin Emerson. Look where his helmet's pointing. It's right here to freeze Emerson, and he knows he's got his stud receiver on a Mike linebacker. That's advantage Rams. So he keeps his eyes there, flips his hips, and if you talk about a perfect throw, if you've ever seen a perfect throw, like this is the one. Watch it from this angle here, coming from the back view. Watch his eyes. Look at his eyes over here. I'm going to freeze Emerson, flip my hips, and just deliver a perfect one, and then I'm just going to run off the field. Watch this. This is when I was like, oh, boy. Stafford's feeling himself today. Watch this. He goes, all right, he's gone. I'm just going to go get my water now because I just threw a second.
He knew. So it looks like, did the Browns the Browns had 3 safeties technically then on this play.
Yep.
Because Delpit was up at the up blitzing.
Yep.
And then you had the 2 on the outside. Okay. Oh, actually, technically they had 4. It looks like because I see. Well, actually, is that Mike Ford at the top though, or is that Emerson at the top?
It's an inverted look. So these are actually your corners.
Okay.
And when you invert, right, normal cover 2, think Madden, the corners get the flats. They're the bubbles in the flats. Well, when you invert it, those guys are now the deep half, and then somebody else comes and covers the flats. Well, both of your safeties, and this is a good, honestly, this is a good look, right? You get both of your safeties. They actually come on a blitz, right? And then Mo Hurst drops out in coverage. You're going to get him to cover the flat, JOK to cover the flat, Taki to cover the deep middle. Boom, deep half. There's your coverage shell right there. And when you do that, you get a wide receiver.
No, that's fair. I was trying to figure out where Thornhill was on the play. Is where I was kind of.
He's coming on the blitz.
I realized that he was on the other side, opposite of. Yeah. That makes sense.
And a huge play. Puka is he's nuts, man. He's fast. He's a good player. So we come out. All right, now you're down 10-7. This throw, we thought the Amari throw was good. This one had me drop my popcorn because look, it's going to Harrison Bryant. Harrison Bryant's going to run a seam bender, and it's going to look just like this. He's going to go inside of the safety, and then this guy's going to come out and defend him right here. Well, Flacco, a little token play action fake, and puts this in a shoebox. Look at this. This is nuts. That throw is insane, especially they're coming off. The crowd was rocking. They just had a 75-yard touchdown. The very first play out of this was, all right, Browns are still in it. You're not running away with this one. And he delivers a steep.
I think the first drive was kind of a nice, take a deep breath. Flacco's still got something in the tank. I think that throw was holy cow, how did nobody sign this guy before the Browns did? Because dude, that's like turning back the clock, Flacco, right there. That's unbelievable. That throw.
This throw was, we're going to the playoffs. Was that's what that one was to me. So delivers this shot, and then this very next play is kind of what I'm talking about with the ball. While it was it was in danger on one play, but everything was smart. Everything was kind of calculated. Okay, very similar look to what we saw earlier, but instead of these guys running curls, you just get a go here by Amari and a go by Cedric. It becomes like a post. And then they're kind of just doing, because this safety is going to drop in to take Elijah. Elijah's going to come in the middle. So then you're just throwing off of this guy. Wherever he goes, you go opposite. So he could have gone either direction. He tried to look off. I honestly think I would have went to Cooper for sure. But this was on third down. Look, here we go. Here's the marker. Here's the line of scrimmage. Here's the first down. Okay, so they got to go a far way. He chucks this thing up, and Spence, if this gets intercepted, it's a punt, and it's a good punt.
Yeah.
It's if let's say it does get picked off, they're inside. If Tillman makes that tackle inside the 10-yard line, inside the 20, whatever. But that's a smart football play. I'm not trying to do too much. I'm going to drop back. It's third and a mile. We're going to give our guy a chance. If Tillman, he gets caught up. Let's see if I can get through it without. He gets caught up right about here. He gets kind of, not that this is a penalty, but let's just say that he doesn't get caught up and he's a little bit closer to this ball. Maybe there's a pass interference. Maybe there isn't. But if this is picked off, it's like a big punt, and it's just a smart quarterback play.
Yeah. And you were saying if it was you might have looked at Cooper because he ended up kind of in man-to-man coverage.
Yeah, and two, when you're doing this, when you're running this kind of a play, this safety, this is Jordan Fuller. He stays on this hash. He's kind of buried on this hash anyway. He's trying to Flacco, I can kind of feel, was trying to stare at Cooper to kind of bait him to go over that way to flip his hips and throw it. Just kind of overthought himself because when he throws it, right, Fuller's on this hash and Cooper's got a step over here. Hey, Fuller probably gets there at the catch point, but that's one of those things in film. Hey, dude, you just kind of predetermined this one. Just see it all the way through. All right, so they end up punting. So now, obviously, you can see here we punted into the end zone. Or no, we didn't punt into the end zone. Got it at about the 20-yard line because this is 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. This stuff has to stop. We kind of give Miles a pass on the offsides because he rushes the quarterback so much. But, it's 3rd down. You got a chance to get off the field here, and you just can't. You can't, especially and I hate criticizing guys because I couldn't play in the NFL, and I know I couldn't, but like my dad used to say this when he coached us when we were in second grade playing flag football. Like, everyone should watch the ball, but if the defensive tackle jumps off sides, the ball is literally on his nose. And if the defensive tackle jumps off sides, like, you got a problem. Like, this offside stuff has to stop happening because it gives them a fresh set of downs. And then, again, what do? Same kind of deal here. They use motion. They're going to set up the sweep. Emerson's on it this time. See how he has contain here where he didn't have it last time and Kyron was able to get the edge? Well, now Emerson's got contain, and he forces it back to the guys coming inside. So JOK flying in there. That simple adjustment already is just much better.
That's a textbook. It's a textbook football, thought process, right?
It is.
Like you learn that in high school. If you're a corner, forced to play back inside, he learned from it the first time. Didn't just stuck sort of to his ground and was able to, instead of get beat on the outside, force it back in. So
and it was the exact same play too, Spence. Like, hey, he's probably got Puka here. And he goes, okay, Puka goes and blocks Myles Garrett. He's not getting into a route. I'm the last line of defense. I'm the edge. Nothing can get outside of me. I'm contained. I got to push this back inside because I have an all-pro, potentially at some point, all-pro linebacker, JOK, flying in there like a man on fire trying to make a play. All right, so then after that, okay, so we're either second or third down here. Again, look at how many motions there are. Every play has got some kind of a motion. Look, Stafford sees it. He goes, all right, I got man-to-man coverage. I'm going down here. I'm attacking MJ Emerson with Tutu Atwell. Again, there's another motion. They're definitely in man. Look, everyone's running around crazy, and I'm going to give our guy a shot. And this is what good, veteran quarterbacks do. It's not a completion, but it's 30-yard penalty because of a pass interference. Like, hey, just get yards however you can get yards. That's what it's about.
It also just looked like off the ball, Emerson just got straight up beat. Like,
got beat. And
he didn't have his best day, I didn't think, on Sunday.
Yeah, he didn't. This is a big one. He didn't give up too many catches, but here's one thing he does. If there's anything that he struggles with, he's a big body and he's playing really, really good. But there are guys who are quicker, and Tutu Atwell is one of those guys. He's a quick guy off the line of scrimmage. And he just runs a nice little route, gets inside, and then sometimes MJ is just a little too big and just can't quite hang up with him.
And again, we never know how the Browns teach these things, but I'm always curious when, knowing MJ's not like the fastest dude, shouldn't your first move as a corner in that situation be like jamming the guy at the line? Because like that's how you get a little bit of leverage on him, is like, if I slow him down off the jump, then I know that's like, even half a second longer that Stafford, or a half a second that Stafford loses in trying to make a play here. Like,
absolutely.
you just kind of drop. Like, he gets even with them pretty quickly here.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking
3 yards.
Yeah, like by 3 yards up the field, they're already even. And then they always say, like, if you're even, what's the phrase? If you're even, it's
if he's even, he's leaving.
If he's even, he's leaving. That's it. Yeah. I knew it was like I knew it rhymed. I always forget that one.
Yeah, if he's even, he's leaving.
Like, that's I don't know. It looked like he tried to kind of jam him there a little bit late on the route, but it was already over at that point.
You can't. No, you're so right. Like, what can you do here? What's the coaching point here? It is get in his face and be more physical than him. If let's say this, a 5-yard holding penalty or a 5-yard, illegal hands or not illegal hands to the face, but illegal contact 5 yards down the field is better than a 35-yard PI, because you get in the chase mode and you're like, I'm not giving up a touchdown. I'm just going to tackle him, and I don't care as long as it's not.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like, if from my basic knowledge of playing cornerback in high school, like, I feel like it was either, if you're going to be in man, you're either going to jam him at the line, or if you're worried about him like going deep on you, you play off a little bit more, knowing that you'll be able to you can give some ground before he catches up to you, and you can kind of run with him.
Yeah,
but I don't. That's always, at least how I always felt like it was taught to us. But in this instance, it seems like he's like kind of caught in the middle, where he's like, I want to be more up in his face, but I'm not quite far enough. Like, even if you look at the other side, like Mike Ford, he's playing even like a yard further back than what Emerson is. So I don't know. We spent a lot of time now talking about this specifically.
Yeah, no, it's a great conversation because it's important, and it frankly, we don't know how long Denzel's going to be out. So it's like you're going to see a lot of Mike Ford and you're going to see a lot of MJ Emerson. You hope Denzel comes back, and Denzel spoils us because he matches the quickness of these guys.
Yeah.
The problem is there's two things. The first is that if we look up top, Mike Ford can't be pressed here because Puka's on the line of scrimmage. So here's the line of scrimmage right here. So you can't have two guys at the same level. If you have two guys at the same level, they're both dead because they can just run an easy pick play and one of them's just cut loose. So you have to kind of manage that and be open. On this side, you can kind of see Delpit at some depth, but I agree with you. I think MJ's a little too far back. The problem is, my guess would be Tutu Atwell is like he would get open in a phone booth. Like he's that quick where he's just really tough. And you can see MJ like really hesitating, like here, and here, like really hesitating and not being able to do it. It's really tough. And that's the problem, right? That's the problem with man coverage. Sometimes you don't have much help and you got to put these guys in disadvantaged situations and make it really challenging.
And I don't mean to make it about, Emerson. He's generally had a good season overall. There was just obviously one play that we kind of got hung up on there. But anyway, we can continue.
No, it's a great conversation. And like, he didn't give up a touchdown on the play. He didn't give up a completion. He got a PI. Not the end of the world. And what was good about the Browns
with this defense too, you'll kind of live with that. Like, okay, take the penalty. It's the same thing as in basketball. You foul a guy who's got an easy bucket, right? Like, just take the foul and make him make the free throws. Like it's the same thing. Like, make him earn the touchdown rather than just get beat and give him an easy score.
You're so right. And what this ends up doing is now your defense just buckles down. Okay, so instead of forcing a punt, now your goal is to force a field goal. So what do? They run a screenplay right away. Again, here's where man coverage is great, Spence. You get JOK manned up with Kyron Williams, and they run a screenplay. JOK is impossible to block. It wasn't a great pass. Kyron's down anyway, but JOK triggered on it and made a great play. So they go from having this big long play to the very next one is a screen where we shut it down. Then 2 straight plays after that, incomplete. They kick a field goal. And it's mission accomplished, for the Browns. So that was the first quarter. All right, so a lot happened there. So now we kind of get rolling. So it's now becoming a game kind of back and forth, and it becomes kind of a field position battle. So this was a monster play. It was funny that we all see the meme going around: 2 cheeks or 1 cheek equals 2 feet, whatever the guy said. But this was awesome. Or no, this wasn't it. This is a great out route by Eli. That comes in a little bit here, but look here, gets some space, gets a little cushion, runs a nice little out route, and this is far hash to sidelines. This is a big boy throw, and it's perfectly on point. Eli catches, toe taps. Look at that, 1st and 10 to 1st and 10. You just love seeing that.
He had a really good game.
Yeah.
Well, he had a good game because it was like his best as a Brown, but he had a few drops in there.
Yeah.
The fact that he was targeted so many times, you would like to see him make more than 4 catches, I think. But it was a mixed game, but it was his best game as a Brown, which I think the chemistry with Flacco was obviously apparent. And it was he was kind of his security blanket. And it's also funny, this is something that we haven't seen. Flacco throws the ball away so much, and the joke is like when he throws it up and he gets all those PIs, it's so smart. We discussed it a little bit ago, but there were a couple that were just like into the stands that were just Eli's way. So he got a couple of those targets. But I will say there was not a handful, 1 or 2 drops in there that were kind of bad. So this is one you don't love to see. Can I ask you real quick, Megs, because this has been a conversation the last couple of weeks with, DTR and the drop problems. And DTR actually throws a harder ball than I think people realize. If you look back at his combine results, like he has some zip on the ball. I know it's like a scary word when people hear zip after the whole debacle with Deshaun this year. But how realistic is that? We might have talked about this a little bit last week, but like how real is it that, you go quarterback to quarterback and it has a different impact in trying to catch the ball?
It's real. It's truly real. And you see it more when you go from like a righty to a lefty because the spin's different. And that's a real thing. People don't want to believe that. That's a very, very real thing. But what's also true is all of these guys throw not only is their velocity different, but their release is different. Okay, we talked about it, I think maybe last week, where Deshaun's a little more smooth, a little more compact. DTR looks like like a bird almost. He gets all the way out like this, and then Flacco's a little bit again with that more compact, high arm. It's coming out. The ball comes out at different angles. Where if it's like Deshaun's ball comes out here, DTR is here, Flacco's up here. It just messes with these guys just enough where it's not like if you were in the backyard with them, they would catch every ball. But we'll see it in a second here. You got Amari Cooper coming across the middle on a slant, and where he's been seeing PJ Walker throw it one way and saw Deshaun throw it another and felt the velocity of DTR, and now he's got Flacco. It's the ball's still getting to him, but it's hitting him. Maybe it's 0.2 seconds different, but that's enough where he's like, hey, I'm about to get hit coming across the middle. The ball, I'm used to it being at this beat, but now it's at this beat, and it just gets off just a touch. It's a true thing. It's a real deal. And all these guys, and which makes it really hard when you got 4 quarterbacks. It's really darn hard to do. But they got to keep adjusting and getting through it, especially if they can get some consistency here out of Flacco here these next couple weeks. This was disappointing to see. Postek, who's been playing great. Sometimes you just get beat, and he gets beat here on this little sweep play, and you go from 1st and 10 to 2nd and I think it was an 8-yard loss. So you got 2nd and 18. So the veteran comes back. This throw is awesome. Like Spence, one thing to look at here is the decision. Okay, the ball's being thrown now. Like Tillman hasn't even looked yet, and when you can throw with this level of anticipation, because here's his read. This is a high-low read on this guy right here. Once he commits to Njoku, I mean, that ball's already flying. He knows he's already beat. And it's crazy. Spence, the ball's in the air, and Tillman is just getting his head around. Like, you physically cannot guard that. There's nothing you can do because the timing is so perfect that there's legitimately nothing that can be done. If that's an accurate pass, it's going to be a catch every time. It's just that's quarterback play that we just haven't seen, where I'm in the pocket, I'm going to throw with anticipation, and we're going to go.
Those high level throws, you saw them throughout the game, and I think that was something that we haven't seen this season, which is why even though Flacco has the interception and the loss hurts for Browns fans, like you feel pretty good about it. You don't want to use the phrase moral victories, but it almost felt like that, I think, from the fan base, because it was like, holy crap, we haven't seen quarterback play like this in a long period of time.
Yeah, it's super true, and that's the encouraging part. Like I jokingly said, like playoffs after he made that one throw, but like the stuff you see here is like, oh, you can win. You can win with this. He's still got it. Like Flacco still has it. He's not going to throw. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I also thought Stefanski, he called the right game for Flacco. Yeah. Like he didn't. I think there's times where he tries to overdo things or outsmart himself. Like last week with the reverse, when PJ Walker takes over, he's like a couple plays into taking over for DTR, and he runs like a reverse play that's a fumble, and it's just like, dude, like I don't know that was the right time for that. You didn't see a lot of that in this game. It was just straightforward. Joe Flacco's. We trust Joe Flacco to run this offense and drop back and do his thing.
And he was just such a pro's game. Like, yeah, it's not going to all be great, but we're going to put you in. We're going to be around at the end, and they were. This was a bummer here. This was right after the Tillman catch. It was 3rd and 3. We go to run it, which kind of signifies if you get any type of yards, they're going to go for it on 4th down. But they get pushed back and end up having to punt. So flip the field, and this was awesome. Okay, so this is a new set. Right, you got a tight end down here, and this is a 4x1. So now you got 4 receivers. These 4 are all eligible receivers. So really good job by the Browns to adjust to it, make sure everything's covered up. And then a great pressure. Newsome came on. Newsome came on a couple blitzes and all day long, and he actually did pretty well as that nickel cornerback. So he comes on a blitz, gets some pressure, flying around, and they're able to force an incompletion on 2nd down. So they end up forcing a punt, and here's the one I was kind of discussing here. So this is the last play of Amari's day because he comes across the middle and takes a little bit of a shot here. So You see him on the slant, and again, even if it's just a beat off, it just makes it a little bit different. He should catch this football. He doesn't, and then he gets – did they say anything about this? This is why I put this in here. Did they say anything? Because it didn't – where I was sitting, I needed binoculars to see it. So it didn't look like a headshot, but after watching the tape, it looked like it could have been something. Did they comment on this, or was there ever any discussion?
I don't think they commented on like him. I don't remember it being like a controversial thing.
Yeah.
I don't even know like if you get the broadcast angle, I don't think it even looks like there was like a helmet to helmet hit. It more so it almost looks like the Rams guys almost collide with each other more so than they even collide with Cooper. But I think it was just the fact that his head was kind of caught in the middle between them. That's kind of what happened. But it was more so like a chest to chest thing than like a helmet to Amari's helmet.
Helmet to helmet. Yeah, no question.
It was just an unfortunate one, really. Like he just kind of got punched between them.
Because it didn't even look like, from my perspective, initially it was like, oh, he must have just got banged like a rib shot or something like that. But, watching the tape, it looked like there could have been some contact, but I was just curious if it was even mentioned, if he was even mentioned at all. So, all right, Browns end up having a punt. That was a third down play that Cooper dropped it. So the problem is now we've had twice the ball at the 50-ish yard line, and you got to convert that to points, right? Like you have 3rd and 4 at the 50. That needs to be points. You get the punt back right outside the 50-yard line. You have to score points, and the Browns didn't do that. So they give it back to the Rams. And now we're getting towards the end of the half. So if you remember, the Rams were getting the ball out of the half. So the Browns needed to keep the Rams out of the end zone and no points, because it could have been one of those swings where the Rams either get 3 points before half or 7 points, and then they get the ball back. So you could be looking at a 14-point swing without touching the football. This is when I was like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. So again, we're going to use motion. We've seen it all first half. They're using motion to tell Matt, hey, you're getting man. And my guess, honestly, Spence, and this is obviously just pure conjecture by me, but my feeling is that, hey, we're going to use motion as much as we can. And if they're in man, this is the route you throw. And if they're in zone, this is the route you throw. Because Stafford's processing was so quick, and he knows he's getting man, and he drops a dime to Puka Nacua. Like, just an absolute, he rips this thing. He knows he's in man coverage. Watch, 1, 2, 3, one hitch, steps up, delivers a perfect football, and gets them out of field position problems. And that was
Ford. That was Ford too, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The Mike Ford there. Yep. He's at the top of right here. Yep. He's on Nacua, and he's with cushion. It's a hard route to cover, especially when it's a perfect pass. He's actually not in horrible position, but it was just a perfect ball.
Yeah.
All right. Next play. JOK triggers really nicely, just barely misses the tackle, but does enough to force allow the Browns to rally. Like he even played pretty good on Sunday from what I could see. Now, this play was awesome. Here's Juan Thornhill. You're going to get you see Delpit. He's already starting to fall back. Juan Thornhill has got – I'm be curious to learn what this defense is, because you can kind of see him sitting there as like a rat or a robber. It's oftentimes what they call it, where he's just reading his eyes, and he triggers. Look, Stafford's throwing it now, and you see Juan's already triggering, and he catches it, boom, like right on the catch point. He's there. So I thought this was really awesome by him, just sitting there, and then bang, sits in there and makes a huge hit. And then that was third down, Spence. So this is this play right here is a massive, massive, massive play in the game. Okay. So this is a punt, and we talk about it sometimes, like special teams is a third of the game, and it's super important. So watch where this thing lands. Okay. So the ball's flying. This ball's going to land right about here. Okay. You can't quite see it. It lands at the 22-ish. Okay. And Prochet's waving it off. And then it rolls to the 1, to the 2. So quick math there, 20 yards, 2 first downs that you just gave up because you didn't catch the punt. Now, Prochet's kind of been up and down, kind of as a returner. Has had some really great games, has had some miscues. This was super costly, because what does it mean? Well, now it means your offense is backed up and your quarterback's on the paint. Okay. Like, man, this is really tough, because what can you do? You have to force a run. So they run it on first down, and they get a step. Then on second down, it's a quick throw to Elijah. He needs to make this catch. This is a tough catch. but this is one that has to be made. Like, the ball's accurate. It's on him. He gets contact potentially before, but nothing crazy. But you have to make that catch.
Yeah, you have to make that catch. I was going to go back to the Prochet punt real quick.
Yep.
Because he had that muff a couple weeks back. Is that something you wonder about it, like weighing in his head, where he's like, maybe the ball just didn't look right to him off, the coming to him or off the foot or whatever, where then he just gets a little hesitant to even try to catch it because he's worried, well, if I muff it, then we're screwed. So he just kind of let it be. Like, I'm just trying to get in the head of him, I guess, of why he didn't make that play. Because you're right. Like, in real time, I noticed it. There's plenty of other people who noticed it, said as much on social media that he needed to catch that ball. And the fact that he didn't was costly.
Yeah, I've never caught a punt before, especially with live bullets.
I don't expect you to know. It's more so like we don't have to have all the answers on here, but just kind of like a conversation.
It sucks. It could have come off the foot bad and kind of fluttering. And two, it's really hard because you see how it's on the right side of the field, and you can kind of see the Browns' return is set up, or it would be the left side of the field. So you can see the return is set up over here. That's one where it's like, hey, I'm not catching it in the return zone where, hey, my blockers are all set up on the right side. The problem is, the worst part about it is, Spence, like, forget the ball rolling. Just forget that part of it. It lands right now. Like, if he catches this here, just look at this picture. If he catches this, he's not gone. But, I mean, there's one – you got to beat one guy. Like, you got – everybody's blocked up. And the Browns aren't starting on the 22. They're starting on the 40 or maybe even more than that. So it must have come off the foot wrong, but this was a huge missed opportunity for the Browns, because just catch it. That just should be the goal. If I was a coach, I say this all the time. I would tell my punt returner to punt, fair catch everything. We're not even going to return it. It doesn't even matter. Just catch the football, because how many times in the NFL do you get a holding penalty or blocking the back, or they don't catch it and it rolls inside the 5-yard line? Just catch the football and just set your offense up for an opportunity.
It's one of those basic things, and that's also, it's been one of those things that I think in the last couple of years, it's why Mike Prefer was let go. Like, the special teams have made those similar mistakes, and you can't have that. You just can't.
You can't, because this is what happens, right? You drop it on second down, and then we throw one away here on third down, and so now you're punting from your goalpost. So it's not great. So you punt it away. This was tough. There was no holding calls all day. I'm not one to whine about referees. I've done it in the past before, but Mo Hurst just gets I mean, what are we doing? What?
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, what are we doing here?
I understand they're not going to call it every play, and so like you always see the tweets about, man, Myles Garrett's getting held every play, and it's like, yeah, guys, that's going to happen with Myles Garrett because it's Myles Garrett. Like, they're not going to call it every time, but when it's obvious like that, I mean, you kind of got to throw the flag.
I mean, what are we looking at, pal? Like, what's going on here? That was a tough one. That just caught my attention. It was not a huge play, but 10 yards from the spot of the 10-yard penalty, gets them way backed up. And we saw that when they get backed up, sometimes they're having trouble. So they stayed where they're at. Again, using motion. They motion to start. I think Stafford misses one here. He does. You get a nice little rub route. This is common when you get man-to-man coverage. You're going to get some kind of a clear out here. This point man's going to run through, and then Cooper Kupp savvy enough to kind of come underneath and use it as a pick play. And he does a great job. This is a rare miss by Stafford to kind of kill a drive, because I believe that was third down, and it was. So a bad miss there by Stafford kind of gives the Browns life. Again, I talked about it a minute ago. When the Browns get the ball on the 50-yard line, they have to score. Well, the Rams also didn't score, so a missed opportunity there. So this was great to see. If this was young Joe, this is a touchdown. And we saw the not lack of arm strength, but the old man arm strength kind of come back to bite him in a little bit. But still a great decision, a great throw. And you get one cheek equals 2 feet. And Elijah with a
put
nice
it on a shirt.
Yeah, put it on a shirt. Sell millions of them. But a great route by Eli. He's really good at that. He's shifty as heck. And way to go up and get one. 42-yard completion is massive. And then very next play, here's where the Browns looked like the Browns. You're like, all right, get a nice chunk run after a big completion. this is great. This is a great situation right here for Cleveland. All right, this one was a tough because I think the Browns had one that they really loved here. They were thinking kind of similar to the Jerome Ford touchdown. I think they probably saw something in tape where they were trying to scheme it up. So you look at the bottom here, you get Njoku and Akins. And Njoku's going to run a vertical route. And then Jordan Akins here, he's going to run kind of a wheel route up the sidelines. And my thought is they were expecting the safety to drive inside and then this corner to attach to the vertical by Njoku and then just totally forget about Akins kind of going up the sidelines because Flacco is even looking in the middle here and he knows, he flips his hips expecting this to be wide open. Looked like they schemed one up. But again, they thought they had it. Joe Flacco, veteran, knows, hey, I'm feeling pressure. It's not open. I'm feeling pressure. I'm throwing it to LeBron in the suites just to stay alive because we have points right now. We already have points. All right. So remember first drive, 3rd and 14. We got Cooper on a bang 8 post. Okay. Call it bang 8 because once they get to the 8th step, you're banging the throw. Okay. That's why it's called a bang 8. So same exact look that we get. And the problem is this safety right flies into the box. John Johnson flies to the middle. The issue here is that Elijah gets pushed inside. Okay. You'll see it right off the line of scrimmage. He loses about 4 yards. He started, I can draw it up here. He loses about this much space. And that's about 4 or 5 yards on the football field, which is very significant because then it brings everybody else into the picture when he gets to the top of his route. This was one where Flacco was throwing it on time. He got to the top of his drop and he was letting it rip. And it worked to Cooper earlier, but Elijah just kind of gets pushed off his track, and it makes it a really tough completion there for him. And just a missed opportunity, especially in the red zone. Okay, so we end up kicking a field goal. All right, we tied it up at 10. Critical to get off the field. Critical right before half to get off the field. So coming out, here they come. I love this from Stafford. Stafford's so fun to watch, especially even if it's against the Browns. He's just so good at playing quarterback still. He gets all the way through a progression, right? He's 1-2. He's flipping his hips to the middle of the field, gets to his guy. And when you're able to do that as a quarterback, this is when big plays happen. Because, again, a 6-yard throw becomes a 17-yard completion. That's awesome work by him. He's a vet. He's very, very good at that. All right, again, here we go. Rams using motion to create a big play. Browns are in another zone look. They don't communicate across the field. This is very similar to the flat route we saw earlier. Kind of they saw this. They saw this as an opportunity. They motioned their tight end into the flat, give him a runner's ball, and he's able to get up the field and get into the red zone. This is a great scheme there.
So, because I'm watching where the miscommunication happens on that play, it's obviously between you got Walker and Emerson kind of tied up in the same place as this play kind of plays out. Emerson tried to play the guy sort of, right where Walker is. It looked like they both tried to play the same guy essentially, but Emerson should have stayed more outside in the flat, obviously.
Yeah. Here's my guess. Cooper Kupp is here. This guy, Cooper Kupp's amazing. This is one guy you don't want you to beat. So because of that, we're going to man him up with Greg Newsome. So Greg, you're going to chase him around the field. We're going to play zone everywhere else. So Martin, you're responsible for this deep third. Anthony Walker, you're responsible for the flats. Mike Ford, third, flats. All right, here we go. So that's kind of the coverage shell. You can see Greg running with Cooper Kupp. You can see Walker attaching here.
So because Emerson knew nobody was behind him, he was like, I'm going to play this guy in front of me without noticing the.
Yeah. Did he see the motion? Did they talk the motion out? Did they push the motion? What was it? Why did he attach there? Because while he is responsible for the deep third, right, this is his guy. This is in his area. And even if he's not going to pick this off or break it up, but he's going to be able to make a tackle somewhere around like here, so they'll probably get the first down, right? It's 3rd and 4, probably get the first down, but instead they get, 30 yards on the play. So it's just one of those things, especially you got to communicate across the field. And that's the discouraging part. It seemed like there was a couple miscommunications in the secondary that led to some big plays. All right, this is one is a miss, right? Puka Nacua at this point had gone out with a rib injury, so this is Ben Skoranek. This is like
The
their
way he
third.
left the game, by the way, I thought he was like I thought his career was over. Like they were like, "Oh, this guy, he's as tough as nails. Look at him, he's holding his arm." And then he came back in the game, and it was like it clearly wasn't even that bad. It was
He
crazy
looks
how it was
fine.
talked about.
That's hilarious to hear. Not hilarious that he got injured, just funny the way they were talking.
Yeah.
But here they go. They got Ben Skoranek in. He's down here at my cursor. He's one of their third or fourth string receiver. And you can see that there's just a lack of communication or potentially not trust, but Stafford's throwing the ball to land about here. Skoranek's aiming right here. Just a miscommunication. The Browns almost get a gift. They almost get an interception here because of just a potential miscommunication. But doesn't much matter. Here they go using their motion, back and forth, and then here's the vaunted sweep again. Look, exactly what we said earlier. You're locked in man here. This corner's going to run a fake slant to block, and it's going to block. Take 2 for 1 is what they call it. Gets him out of position, and now we can seal this thing in and get a huge chunk play out of it. Just they saw something in tape this week or saw something on film. They're like, hey, here's how we're going to attack these guys on the edges. All right. I wanted to get your perspective here because the way I saw it was like, why didn't Anthony Walker pick this off? Because it felt like, and I can see it now after we watched the tape, but it was a little behind him. But I was like, oh my gosh, he played this perfectly. Didn't bite on the fake, didn't bite on Stafford's eyes, knew he was coming back to his running back. And it was like, oh man, we had a chance at an interception here. Look at him. Dang, an accurate pass, and he picks that thing off.
Yeah, that's just
because you can see this back view is great. Because watch Stafford here. Look, his eyes are.
He's trying to draw him to his right.
Yep, because you got a running back going to try to shake on JOK, former teammates by the way at Notre Dame, trying to get him off, him and Delpit off, so he can try to rip one. Well, Walker doesn't move, savvy, in the perfect spot, and you're like, son of a gun, we do it all right, and just the ball was just a touch inside. It would have been a pick. That would have been a huge play. Instead, the half ends with them kicking a field goal. So you're down 13-10 at halftime. And again, they come right out of half. You're like, all right, we need to stop. We need to score. Well, instead they go back to the trusty old motion to a sweep play, and Browns now, because they've been getting crushed, what do you do, Spencer? You're getting crushed on the outside. We're going to over-pursue. Okay, Zadarius forcing leverage. Delpit forcing leverage. Emerson trying to force the edge. Newsome forcing the edge. And we got nobody left for the cutback, which you can see here. So he cuts it back, does a great job, and 19, 20-yard play there on first down. Good job here by Greg Newsome. I thought he actually had a great day. You can kind of see him. We've shown it. They've been using his guys to motion back and forth, across the field, back and forth, all sorts of stuff. But he gets locked up with Puka Nacua, who's having himself a great day. One-on-one. This is a common route. It's called ship. You're going to get a hitch here, a stick route here by number 3, and then call it a big box fade, big box seam, saving a big box to drop the throw in. Here's your big box to drop the throw in, and Greg Newsome is all over it. Covers this really nice. This is darn near impossible for corners to cover, and he does such a good job here, especially with a guy who is much bigger than him. So nothing happens, no dice on that first possession for the Rams. They punt it back to the Browns, and now the Browns are going. This is actually third down. The first down is right in here. It's about 3rd and 4. Okay, so here's the first down marker. Njoku had a quiet day. He was open a bunch, and that's going to be one of the things that I think you're going to see next week if the weather's okay. You're going to try to see David Njoku get more involved in the pass game because he was open, and it's going to have to be a area of focus for Flacco, but does a really good job on third down. Gets it to Njoku. Watching Njoku run with the football is like my favorite thing.
It is, as Amari Cooper would say, poetry in motion.
Poetry in motion. I love it. I love it. But get Njoku the football. That's
well, and especially if Cooper's out. Like I think Flacco. I think early on you saw an emphasis being put on, I'm going to get him the ball. He's a playmaker, and he talked about that after the game as well. Mm-hmm. But without Cooper, if he's out this week, Yeah, I think the presence of Njoku becomes even that much more important.
Because then your receiving core is now Tillman, Elijah Moore, Njoku, and Harrison Bryant.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
wouldn't exactly call it murderer's row, respectfully. But here we go. This is a great play. So look at this play action fake, and this is so cool. I don't know that I've ever seen one this bad, not bad before, but something like this where the defensive tackle wins so quickly that and it's Aaron Donald, so you truly haven't seen it before, but he tackles the play action guy, actually tackles Jerome Ford, does a great job. And Flacco feels this pressure and he's like, oh God, I got to get out of here. Like this is supposed to be a straight drop back. He's like, uh-oh, this isn't good. Comes out. And you know who had a really great day is Harrison Bryant. 5 targets, 5 catches. Didn't have a ton of yards, but caught a touchdown. And more importantly, just caught everything. And this was awesome. This is a great throw and a great catch by 88. Oh, this is a heartbreaker. Okay. So we go play action again. And now look, it's the Browns play action, right? Student body this way. Okay. You're getting everybody going this direction. Normally somebody's open. This was when I'm like, dude, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away. And then Njoku, for whatever reason, they're on the same page. He stops. Flacco stops. And 1 inch, not even an inch, his foot was out of bounds by a grass length because this was a massive play. And he jumps over a guy. And would have been so. It was so close.
Yeah, that was tough.
It was just so close, and it was nothing anybody did. It was just his foot was just right there. It was just a grass length out of bounds, and
I will say, like, one note on that play you talk about, they were all being on the same page. Those are some of those nuances that, I mean, honestly, it's kind of surprising because you can be a quarterback who's played with a guy for years and have kind of the nuance to understand like what they're going to do when they're going to do it. For Flacco to kind of read exactly what Njoku was going to do and those guys to be on the same page like that, like in a 2-week time period that they've been together, that's pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive stuff. I'll fly through a couple of these pretty quickly here. I know we gotta wrap. I've been getting a little carried away with some of my descriptions.
It's all good. You know how I operate, man. Sometimes I just let you go because I know there's some good stuff here. I don't want to prolong this for the viewer too long, so I try to just kind of let you talk through things. But when there's things that I think we can discuss further, I do. So
there's a couple here that I want to show. This one is a tough one because this is hard because Cedric Tillman's supposed to be on the ball. He's not. And it comes back to bite him. And he even before the play threw his hand back to show the ref that he was off the ball. So the Browns are illegal in this, and this is a legal formation. Now you have 5 guys in the backfield, running back, quarterback, tight end, 2 receivers. This is an illegal formation, and it stinks because Elijah runs a sick route. Look at this route by Elijah at the bottom of the screen. Fake post and get outside. Perfect throw. This is the chemistry that those two have because
it was another good one. Missed opportunity,
but they come right back to him. And this is awesome. This is like, hey, Elijah, Amari's out. We don't have any time left to wait anymore. Like, you got to go now. Yeah. And he started doing it, right? Perfect. We run up the field, push him vertically and get good depth. Boom. We put it right on your number and now we're good. One thing that I think's really bad for the Browns, and it's been not great, is our red zone passing attack is non-existent. Like, we get into the red area. Like, you saw it with the Rams. They get into the red area and they score. Like, they have plays they go to every time and they go and they score. The Browns don't have that, right? They lack an identity. And even here, like, we throw it to Njoku. Njoku's kind of our guy, but I'm just going to pause it here. Flacco's throwing it, but look pretend he wasn't on Njoku. Like, we're covered here. You maybe could squeeze one in here, but he's not scoring. Like, there's nobody open. Like, what is the goal and what is the plan when you get down to the low red? Because you have to have one. You can't just kick field goals and expect to win. You need to punch these opportunities into the end zone.
Real quick, as you're going through these, did you put the Posick snap debacle in here as well?
Yeah. Here, let me get to it.
I only asked because it's 2 weeks in a row now. It's been a thing. And Kevin Stefanski now, he talked about it after the game. He talked about it in his Monday press conference. And it sounds like, to me, he has spoken to the officials about it now. And he's trying to make it clear that Posick picking up the ball and moving it isn't us trying to get some sort of advantage. I also thought it was interesting because he even mentioned the way it's being officiated has a lot to do with the Eagles' brotherly shove play. Like how because that play is so prominent right now and it works so well for Philly, and they don't want to see teams try to get like a few extra inches on a short yardage type of situation. So they're really cracking down on it. I thought that was interesting, but like you can tell he does move the ball slightly from where it's supposed to be, but like I don't think that's the intent. And I think that's Kevin Stefanski's point when he talks to these officials and says like we don't teach it that way. So I know that we're not trying to do it where we're trying to be disingenuous here. It kind of just happens when he picks up the ball.
My opinion, this is a joke. This is a joke. Look, the ball is at the end of this hash mark. So this one right here, this vertical one, you can see it. Okay, here's the first move right there. There's move 1, maybe an inch, Spence? All right, here's move 2. He moved it an inch, and like you said, there is no advantage to him doing that. Everyone's in the same spot at the same place. Nobody even becomes offsides. Like that's the other thing. If he moved it so far that they were trying to get some kind of advantage, the whole defensive line would be offsides. Everyone is still exactly on sides right where they're supposed to be. That's one of the craziest things.
Yeah.
I
mean, my perspective on it is like, yes, he technically moved it from the original spot, but I didn't think it was so egregious. Like I just kind of assume that's what all centers do. Like all centers, they're going to have their arm out straight like that, and to get in the right position, the ball comes out a little bit farther. Like I don't know, to make it seem to, and the fact that if Stefanski talked to the refs about it before the game, that's a little more discouraging too, because it seems like he at least made them aware, like, hey, this is just what our guy does, and if they told him on some sort of like verbal agreement, like, okay, yeah, we're good, we understand, and then they still called it, it's weird.
You never see, and we'll just go one more here. You never see Stefanski show like any emotion.
Oh, he was pissed.
Especially like, and I didn't see it at the game. I was getting my stuff set up for the post game, but you had texted it and was like, "Hey, what happened there?" And then afterwards, not only does he ever show emotion on the sidelines, he never gives anything to the reporters, like ever. You've been in that room. You've asked him questions. Yeah. He never gives anything. And to hear his answer to that, you were like, "Whoa, wait a second!" Like he's actually pissed about this.
He paused, took like a deep breath and a sigh, and then gave his answer. And he basically he softly threw the refs under the bus, knowing that he didn't want to get fined.
Yeah,
but, you could tell it was getting like that aggravated him a lot.
You never see it from him. So, all right, last one here. You got a great piece last night. If you haven't seen it, go on Brown's Digest. Spence wrote a good piece about John Johnson, who I was a fan of. He was not great in Cleveland, but made sure to rub it in our faces on Twitter and Instagram last night. But this was one where it was for the first time all game. And Spence, at this point, it's 20-19. Okay, 20-19. Yeah, we're in the fourth quarter. Okay, you lose the fourth quarter 16-6. Okay, that's the truth. That's how this game ended. So you're in it. Everything defense, the sky's falling. 400 yards. Myles Garrett, no tackles, whatever. You're in the football game. You have a chance to go win it. This was tough. They're coming off a punt. We had just scored. They forced them to a 3-and-out, and now they punt it back to us. In the very first play, all game long, Spencer, we watched when everything is covered up, he's thrown it into the benches, right? And he picked this one to step up. And even if he was his old self, I mean, that's a 70-yard throw. That ball needs to be like here for this to be completed. And it just never had a chance. And really unfortunate because there's the pick and it becomes a huge return. And thankfully for Gary and Christensen, this is gone. Like if he doesn't stop this, we get a block here and a block here and we're out the gate.
It kind of felt like a heat check moment for Flacco.
Yeah.
Like he was like, hey, I know I still got it. Let's see, Elijah Moore's out there somewhere. Let's see what I can do.
Let's see how much I still got it.
Yeah, that it wasn't a great play on his part. A couple things I want to clarify in that play, though, and then I have a question for you to get us out of here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of insinuation, I think, for people who are like, why would Kevin Stefanski call that play and try to take a deep shot at that moment of the game? It's a one-score game. Guys, I think Flacco did a beautiful job of explaining this after the game. Like, it was a play-action pass. You always have different reads and options on a play-action pass. It felt more like he just tried it. Like he said flat out, like everything was covered up. And I just kind of thought, let's take a shot and see, not knowing what, how far he would get it. And it didn't work out. But like I don't think it was anything like, hey, let's go out and make the point of this play, take a deep shot to Elijah Moore and see if we can score really quickly here. Like they had been scoring all their drives were like, I forget off the top. They were all 7 plays or more. They all took like 6+ minutes off the clock every single time.
Yep.
They were just, and in the second half, both their scoring drives were like 15 plays, 17 plays. Like they were marching down the field. So I don't think the main goal here was like, well, we got to, go score quickly and take a deep shot. It's just the way the play kind of developed. It's what Flacco saw, and he flat out took the blame for it. So I think it's kind of wrong to put this one on Stefanski. It was just what the play call was, and Flacco made the wrong choice. I also want to add, too, it's less of a problem if they make this tackle on the other end of the field. The fact that he returns it to the other side is where the issue comes, because on one hand, like if you make that tackle immediately, it's almost just like a punt on first down, yes, but it's almost like a punt. And then, okay, you live to fight another day. If you can get a stop, there's still like 6 minutes to play with before you to get to score.
Absolutely. If I'd be concerned if they went into an empty formation or 2x2 and sent Elijah on a go ball, that's when you'd be like, dude, what are we doing? Yeah. We've seen this play. We've watched the Browns ever since the last 5 years, ever since Baker Mayfield was here. Like we've seen this a million times, right? Where it just, hey, it was a bad decision by the quarterback. That's just
levels. It's just levels to the play. You got a guy underneath, you got to go over the middle, sort of towards the sideline, and you got a guy deep. Like, take your pick. It was all covered. Flacco took a shot. He admitted it was a mistake. And I think he deserves some credit for that, because there's a lot of times where guys won't do that. But I do want, so to get us out of here, let's ask the question that everybody wants to know. Should it be Joe Flacco? I think you kind of already alluded to this yourself a little bit already. But should it be Flacco on Sunday, or should they consider, if he clears concussion protocol, going back to DTR?
Yeah, so like what you see there is Flacco still got it. If we came out and Flacco looked bad, like you'd be like, all right, go back to DTR. But I think I don't know if it was you and I talking about it, or if it was Brendan and I on another show, but like there was a comment made that this team deserves Joe Flacco. Like you can't. And DTR is improving and making improvements. But in my opinion, if Flacco can do this and not throw that last interception, he threw it for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a bad pick. Like, you do that, you're going to be in every game. And I think he presents a level of comfort to you that you can get. Looking at the rest of our schedule, you can get 3 wins with him. And what I would add, if we did this show yesterday at the same time, I would be a little bit different. But saw a couple things, that the weather's not looking great in Cleveland on Sunday, and Trevor Lawrence busting up his leg last night, along with Christian Kirk getting hurt, could prove to be a difference maker, for them. So if it's weather's bad and it's going to be a sloppy game, put Flacco back there. At least the ball's going to be protected.
Going to get the good old Joe Flacco potentially against CJ Beathard. So we'll see how that goes.
What they call that, must-watch TV.
Maybe for us here in Cleveland. All right, guys. Well, we're out of time. I know we went a little longer than we normally do, but there's some good stuff to break down, and we always let's put it this way. We like to let Megs cook, I think is a good way to say it. As always, you can follow along. We'll have plenty of coverage for you of all things Cleveland Browns over at BrownsDigest.com, and more content like this on the Browns Digest YouTube page. Appreciate you guys following along. Be sure to stay in tune with all things Cleveland Browns, courtesy of Browns Digest.